Hi Scrubs, I hope you're well. So today I'm going to be talking about the removal of pass horses and the loyal players pass. So you should have got a message on the 2nd of January telling you about this change, if it hasn't already happened on your server. There are a few servers that this has already taken place on. I did talk about this about 2 to 3 years ago in a video, and I sort of was like, this is going to happen potentially in the future. And I kind of hoped that it wouldn't, and I'll be really honest, when I saw this message I was not remotely amused. But I'm going to talk about it in more detail. I'm going to talk about what is going to replace it, how it's going to affect certain divines, what it's going to be worth, and also I'm then going to finish off with some of my thoughts on how it might affect your gameplay and that. So to start off with, we're going to go through the new features. So on Prepod right now we are able to test this out. As I said, this doesn't actually get implemented on all of the other servers until the 29th of January now. As I said, there's some servers that already have all of this. So, daily missions to win free passes. As mentioned, obtaining free passes is evolving on the game, and it will no longer be possible to send horses to heaven that are over 30 years old to get passes, and then you don't get it anymore from the loyal players pass. Instead, what we're getting is these daily missions to win passes. So the passes you get by sending horses to heaven and the loyal players pass have been replaced by passes you get by completing the daily missions, which let you win passes by playing on horse. This means you're rewarded for actively partaking in the game. Starting from today, the game will set 2 objectives per day. These objectives are stated on your objectives page, which can be accessed from the home page, and objectives are random. And they have varying difficulty levels, change every day. Now, the first objective gives you 10 passes, and the second one gives you 20, so the maximum you're going to be able to get per day is 30. You no longer need to play the Loyal Players Pass mini-games. All you need to do is the objective page to get the passes. Remember, if you don't complete the passes one day, they won't be available the next day, and you'll have new ones instead. So you can't go back and get ones that you missed the day before. If you only did one objective, you didn't do the second one, that's not going to count. So the page cannot be accessed by co-management mode. So basically, you will have to do this yourself. Co-managers won't be able to get near this. But it is available on the mobile version. And you need to have at least 9 karma points to be able to use the feature at all. And accounts with less than 30 days of seniority will get equus instead of passes. And to make sure you don't lose anything during the switch from one system to the other, we credit your account with the passes based on how full your loyalty meter was, and we've also sent you a private message about it. So I did get this private message when I logged onto the Prepod server. So the loyal players pass system has changed to daily objectives, and you will give you out passes to compensate for the loss of the loyal players pass progression. You've been credited with 93 passes. So based on how full your meter is, that is what is going to be given to you whenever this change is implemented. So you won't have it right now, but obviously if you have any progression in that meter before the 29th, then you will get that. So the next part is the extra reward, the Horn of Plenty. So if you complete your daily missions 7 days in a row, you get an extra Horn of Plenty. Remember, if you miss a day, you have to start again from scratch, okay? And you must go to your objectives page to get the Horn of Plenty. So the VIP is a selectable perk, okay? The VIP selectable perk access exclusive statistics about your game has been updated, and it now displays passes won through the daily missions over the last 30 days, okay? And this is Yatta, the horse that we talked about 2 to 3 years ago. So, although you can no longer get passes by sending your horses to heaven, we advise you keep your old horses in any case, as you can use them for the new special horse and the new rankings. This even works for horses 25 years and older, so they no longer have to be 30, okay? So, Yatta. Yatta is an ancestral horse, and you get when you send a horse that is at least 25 years old to heaven. Yatta ages when you send a horse that is at least 25 years old to heaven, and the older the horse you send to heaven, the older your Yatta will become. And you can age it up to 10 times per day, and you need at least 9 karma points in order to do that. So, transformations and prizes. Your Yatta changes appearance as it gets older, and you get a prize when it changes. You get this prize from the horse's profile, and the prize can be a pass, a black market item, or agent points. You can read all the details on Yatterstill's page, and we will look at that in a moment. So when Yatterstill reaches 150,000 years of age, corresponding to its 12th and final transformation, because it goes through 12, you can make it, you can rejuvenate it and decide to restart its evolution cycle to get new prizes. So the VIP selectable perk, so that's just basically, it will tell you now how many horses have aged for Yatterstill over the last 30 days. So that's just that perk, giving you a little bit more insight there. So then we've got new rankings. So, what if you became famous? Try your luck in 3 new rankings that have been added to the best breeder ranking. The number of horses sent to heaven this month. The ranking is based on the number of horses of all ages sent to heaven since the first day of the current month. Number of old horses sent to heaven this month. This ranking is based off the number of horses over 25 years old sent to heaven since the first day of the current month. And then finally, you have number of horses sold to the safe haven this month. And this ranking is based off the number of horses of all ages sold to the safe haven since the first day of the current month. And these rankings are reset on the first day of every month. So the next part is the Pandora's box and the Graffil. So this has been causing a bit of confusion. So with the Pandora's box, you can now bring back to life only the horses that you haven't sent to heaven yet, okay? Now, in terms of the Graffil, to keep getting the bonuses offered with your Graffil Divine Horse, which is the 20,000 equus and the 20 passes, their prizes are now offered when they die, no longer when they're sent to heaven. So the way that it is before this change, okay, now this is on my UK account where this change has not happened. Basically, my horse has died and I haven't got my passes or my equus because I have to send it to heaven. But with the new change, you will skip that part, okay? As soon as your Graffil dies, you're credited those things. So you'll still get them. It's just that you don't have to send your Graffil to heaven anymore to do that. So it's basically just a part being omitted from that. So if you have sent a Graffil horse to heaven, they will have been sent back to your breeding farm and you've received a message about it. So when that change comes in, if you have a Graffil sent to heaven, as far as I know, it'll go back to your breeding farm and you'll get a message to tell you so. So if I send this horse to heaven right now, resuscitate. Okay, and if we have a look in my office, you can see that I got my 20 passes. If we look here in my details here, special horses, I have sent 2 Graffils to heaven, so that's why it is showing 40,000, but it's 20,000 each. So basically, the only thing that's changed now is you don't need to send your Graffil to heaven. Everything else about the Graffil is exactly the same. So let's have a closer look at the daily objectives. Now this page is accessible from going to achievements and then daily objectives, and it'll be displayed in here. So you can see you've got the consecutive 7 days and then the hop at the end, objective number 1 and objective number 2, and what we receive for each of those. So here we've got the 2 daily objectives when passed an equus. Now if you have between 1 and 15 days of seniority, then your first objective is going to give you 2,500 equus and the second will give you 5,000. If you have between 15 and 29 days of seniority, then you're going to get 5,000 equus for the first one, and you're going to get a second objective which will give you 10 passes. If you're over 30 days seniority, your first objective is going to give you 10 passes and the second will give you 20. Now there's a couple of things about this that I kind of want to talk about in a little bit more detail. So for example, Yatta. So Yatta goes older when you send a horse that's at least 25-year-old to heaven, and the older the horse is, the more Yatta will grow, okay? Now, I did a bit of testing with this, okay? And most of the horses that I sent were around the dot of 30, and some of them were maybe a little bit younger or older. But for most of them that I sent to heaven on the test server, most of them gave my horse 30 years. Now, one of them did give my horse 31 years, but the average was about 30 years. Now, obviously, if I was aging a horse that's a little bit younger, that's fair enough. But just to bear that in mind, that the age of the actual horse does affect it. Now, I'm going to be showing you a list of the different things that Yatta gives you and how many horses you're going to have to send, but that is based on sending 30-year-old horses to heaven, because I did send all but one of them. That one that gave me 31 years, they were all 30 years. So obviously the older the horse is, it's going to give you more years on Yatta. So let's just go back to Yatta really quickly. So Yatta can grow 10 times a day. So basically, if you send 10 horses to heaven, Yatta will grow 10 times. If you send 11 horses to heaven, that 11th one will do nothing, and I'll show you that in a moment. So every time Yatta grows old, he changes and you obtain a gift when he evolves, okay? And he can go up to a max of 12 evolutions, which is 150,000 years old, and then you can decide to sort of basically repeat the process. So only VIPs that have the specific perks will be able to see the statistics about that. Now, we're not going to go into any more of that detail. We're going to go and have a sort of more structured look at Yatta. So as I said, I sent several horses to heaven to age Yatta up. and as I said, pretty much every single one of those horses was on the dot of 30 years old. Maybe a slight little older because we got an extra year in there. Now, I've got enough to receive the first prize, but we're going to have a closer look here. So his appearance changes after every evolution. You can actually see a photo album of them down here. So this is the starting one, and then this is the one that it's grown up to. So let's have a look here. So this is the gifts. Okay, so the first one being a black orchid. That's for your second transformation. Then third being 20 agent points. Then you've got a hop, Achilles heel, a golden apple, 50 passes, a Chronos timer, 20,000 equus, a Morpheus arms, a fifth element, and then we've got a Hermes wing staff. Now we're going to have a closer look here. Now this is based off, I just want to stress this, 30-year-old horses. If we were sending younger horses, maybe 25 or older horses, it's going to change the number of horses required. So do bear that in mind when you're looking at this. So we've got 12 transformations. We have the age of the horse that it's required to get the prize. We've got the approximate worth of them here. Now, I have neglected to add here for the fifth element and the Hermes wing staff, because right now that doesn't have a set thing in the shop, so I didn't want to put something in there. But approximately from what the prize is from those 12 evolutions, it's going to be at least this, 1,404 passes, so the age is required. So if I send a 30-year-old horse to heaven, I need to send 9 to heaven to get enough. That would be 270 in years, okay, to get past the 250 mark. So that will require 9 horses. For the third one, it's going to require 34 horses. The next one, 84, 167, 300, 500 horses, 800 horses, 1,334 horses, 2,167 horses, then 3,334 horses, and then 5,000 horses for the last one. But as I said, these are based off 30-year-old horses being sent to heaven, but Yggdrasil you can use horses that are 25. So this number can go up, this number can go down, depending on the ages of the horses that you use on Yggdrasil. Overall, I don't really like this divine. I never liked it when I saw it 2 years ago. My opinion hasn't really changed on it. Am I going to send 5,000 horses to heaven just to get a Hermes wing staff? Absolutely not. The only way that this horse will be aging on my account is if I age any horses whatsoever. And if this change comes in, I really don't see the point of aging any horses. So that is Yggdrasil. And I will actually show you guys what he looks like, because I know that I did that in my older video as well. So I'll show on your screen right now what Yggdrasil looks like as he transforms. Now the next thing I want to show you is I have 2 horses here. This one is a 25-year-old horse. We're going to send it to heaven, okay? Now, as I'm sending this horse to heaven, it says down here that the number of times Yggdrasil has aged today is 10 out of 10. Wait until tomorrow to age your horse. So basically, if I send this horse to heaven right now, my Yggdrasil won't age. So I'm just going to go back to my Yggdrasil divine just so that you can see it and see that it won't age. So, every single day, your limit of sending horses to heaven is 10. So, this horse is 301 years old. If I send this horse to heaven, okay, this horse is not going to age. We're going to refresh because we've already reached the 10 out of 10 limit for today. And then if we age this horse forward, it's the same thing. So a slightly older horse, send to heaven, and Yggdrasil does not become any older because we've already reached the max of 10. So in that regard, if you're aging Yggdrasil forward to try and get him to the ultimate age, if you had that many horses to send to heaven, there's no point in doing that because you can't do it in one day. So once you have got sufficient amount sent and you have managed to transform Yggdrasil into one of its new ones, you can receive the prize on its page, and then it tells you what your next prize will be. So that is how you do that. So we're just going to come back to the daily objectives here. So this one is spend 1 aging point on a horse that is more than 4 years old. We've done that, so we click on that and we collect a reward. The next one is sell a horse to the safe haven, so we're going to quickly do that. So we're just going to send this horse to the safe haven for this. So place in the safe haven, and then we'll go back to our daily objectives and claim that. So that has completed today's one. We would have to log in tomorrow and do both of these, and the third one, fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh to get the Horn of Plenty. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this. So, on the beta server right now, quite a few beta testers have said that they're getting the kinds of objectives that actually require pass use to complete, such as like removing Pegasus wings. And I've heard whispers of other such things. Don't know if those will be removed. Some people are saying they might be, and some people are saying they won't be. So, right now, this could be entirely counterproductive, right? We don't really know if it's actually going to be in use. So, you're probably thinking, right, well, we used to have the ability to get up to, 3,000 passes, okay, from sending horses to heaven. Not everybody did it, and apparently on the UK server, I saw Kaleo quote something that Zoe had said, and they said that less than 1% of all players had actually received all 3,000 passes each month. So they feel that this change will actually be available to more players. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this. So if we look at this in terms of the whole year, okay, 7 months of the year have 31 days, which means you could get up to 930 passes for each of those 31-day months. For the 4 months of the year, they give you 30 days, then you have up to 900 passes that you can get. And then for the month of February, the lowest you're going to get is 840 passes, and the highest being 870. So, year to year, okay, we're talking about 10,950 passes to 10,980 passes in terms of collection. Now, this change from 3,000 to, let's say, an average of 900 is under a third, okay? Because we've also got to take into consideration the fact that we're losing the Loyal Players Pass, because really 3,000 and then another 100. And I was never really a fan of the Loyal Players Pass, to be honest, because I found it very difficult sometimes to get it completed in a month, even when I was playing kind of regularly. So I'm not sad to see that go, but I don't like seeing the pass horses go, and this is for a couple of reasons. The first one being, this daily objective thing is kind of tying you down that you have to be here. You have to be here, okay? You have to be here 7 days in a row. You have to be here every day of the month. And that's fair enough, they want to reward the people who are here daily, but I really think what this is more about is the fact that with the pass horse system, okay, if we talk about the people who have way more horses than they can actually send to heaven per month to actually make anything. Let's say we've got somebody with hundreds and hundreds of horses that they can send away per month, whether they sit there and do it manually or if they're using, bots that they shouldn't be using, okay? People abusing the pass system is really, in my eyes, the reason why we've got this, because if you were one of these people that had a bunch of horses aged and then you went on some outside forums, and I've seen people talking about this in the forums, and you were like, okay, you kill off pass horses for me, you kill off pass horses for me, and you can keep so many of the passes, but give me the rest of them. People could earn ridiculous amounts of passes doing that. And this way, they've taken that away and they've replaced it with something that can't be done by co-management. So anybody that had maybe somebody working pass horses for them on shared or whatever, that's gone out the window. So really for me, this is about crushing down on that and making it not possible for that, not possible to do it with and I feel like that's really the reason for this. In my eyes, that is the reason for this. And it annoys me because I like pass horses because I cannot log on every single day and still go and buy some pass horses and actually send them to heaven and get my passes. Now, I didn't always get 10 a month, purely because actually since the economic changes came in, pass horses got super expensive, even on like the UK server as well. Maybe some of the other servers that weren't hit as hard, but I find it kind of difficult to actually buy pass horses at reasonable amounts. And this is actually something else I just kind of want to mention in this regard. I haven't been that impressed with the piggy bank, but the one thing I will say in the piggy bank's favour, for example, is that the minute that I can buy Morpheus arms for this amount, and that's cheaper than one pass horse for me. And a Morpheus Arms costs more than one pass horse. So it kind of is more worthwhile for me to use the piggy bank right now to buy Morpheus Arms than it is for me to kill off 3 pass horses to buy it manually. So in that regard, it's kind of nice, but because I guess I could now switch using my Equestrian Center meadows that I use to make leather that I use to then fund the pass horses that I buy. I can now use it to spend on the piggy bank, but the piggy bank's kind of hit and miss as to what you get in it. So like if we just go back to the piggy bank, okay, you know, next pack kind of expensive, but in that regard I kind of feel like maybe I can use that money in there instead now rather than spending it on pass horses. I guess the people who sell pass horses are not going to be remotely happy, and I think I have seen people dumping pass horses since seeing this message as well, and I would say if you want to, you know, try and get a couple of pass horses cheap, probably now is the time. So with these daily objectives, you know, it is pushing you to be here every day. Pass horses give you that ability to be here one day and then come back and, you know, get the rest of the passes later. And what kind of gets on my nerves a bit is the fact that if you do all of this, and on average you get 900, it's not enough to buy the VIP at 1000. And I know that, like, I saw a comment about this, you know, you used to be able to sell horses in the sales and pass seeds, and then, you know, passes that you gain from divines, you know, partner offers, sponsoring other players, you know, but the thing is, sponsorships, I don't really use those a lot, you know, because I kind of feel like you can maybe use those a couple of times and then it's kind of like, you know, you can't really bother more people other than spamming people being like, sign up to this game so I can get free passes. And then the thing with the pass seeds are so hit and miss quite a lot of the time, they don't always come up. And then selling horses for passes is sometimes super difficult, even now with the changes. You know, and then the whole tax thing, let's not even get started on that. I feel like now that they're doing this change, why don't we just take the tax away, but then they'll probably take the piggy bank away, so that would stuff my whole plan about using my leather for the piggy bank instead, in that regard. But I feel like I'll still be able to fund my VIP with this, but sometimes I think it could be a little bit iffy, you know, if you can't really sell any pass horses, or, you know, the pass seeds take a long time to grow. Even if we do get pass seeds, they take a long time to grow and you can only buy so many. And then divines, it can depend on the divine when it comes for passes. Like, you get some divines that are quite good, and then, like, I don't know about you, my Gypsium divines do not drop passes. I haven't, like, whenever they were dropping diamonds, I think it's been a year since I've had a diamond out of one of them. So, like, it's so hit and miss in that regard. There could just be times where it is a bit harder to get what you need there. So, in that regard, I feel like we have got less. Okay, maybe it's more accessible, but that is going to depend on a couple of things. Like, if we've got some objectives to complete that are kind of counterproductive, that you have to spend, like putting a customization item on, or taking a unicorn, or, you know, taking a unicorn horn off, God forbid. Things like that are just not going to work in that favor. And then if we look at the whole thing of the whole process of pass horses, for those of us who sat and cared for horses, aged them up yourself, you know, you had that sort of daily ritual of AP collecting, maybe adding skills to the horses that you're working on towards your ranking until you kill them off. There was positives to that, you know, getting Asian points that helped you then develop horses, that helped your ranking and things. You know, now it seems like there's no real point to the death of horses. Okay, the ranking thing comes in Yggdrasil, but I really don't like Yggdrasil as a divine. So yeah, for the rankings, number of horses sent to heaven this month, number of horses sold to the safe haven, number of old horses sent to heaven for this month. Maybe it'll help, you know, people who are trying to go for VIP for the first time if you want to send a lot of horses to heaven, but you're still going to need to have the horses to begin with. I don't really know if I see any real positive there. And another really good point was made by Sarah, because I was watching her video last night about the plant divines. If you're not working on a lot of horses, you're not going to have enough manure to work on your plant divines. You know, there are other knock-on effects here that maybe we're not just seeing just yet. I feel like maybe I'm gonna make more passes doing this, so long as the objectives I get aren't making me throw passes at it. And that's the question. It's also about the fact that how much time am I going to spend, because what I would like to see is, you know, the ability to actually have some more flexibility, because I feel like steps were made forward in terms of player flexibility. And if you think about the aim of this game in terms of its demographic, a lot of it's older players, you know, maybe around 18 to 27 or 25, and I kind of feel like those people are busy. Those people aren't going to be able to sit on here all day. They want that flexibility, and that kind of feels like it's kind of been taken away a little bit more on top of the whole co-management change. So I sort of feel like we're losing player flexibility on this. At the end of the day, I think it's come about because of people abusing the system. Another horse I want to just mention is actually the Midas Divine. So it was asked actually on the UK server about this. What is going to be the purpose of this one? I don't think the purpose is going to change, but I got that Divine originally. I spent money on that Divine to make it easier to get pass horses, and I think that's exactly what that Divine's purpose was, in truth. So that Divine to me is kind of now slightly useless, although it still has the Harmony Pack thing, and that part is like something that I use more with that one. This is something I use whenever something went wrong with a pass horse, maybe accidentally aged it without caring for it. So right now we don't know. From what I've seen, I haven't got confirmation back whether this is going to change its VIP perk or if it's going to keep it. Now the last thing I want to talk about specifically is this Horn of Plenty that we get for 7 consecutive days. Now let's just assume that you go and you're able to do each objective for all 7 days, right? Hops are worth 100 passes, okay? And let's say you collect, you know, those for all 52 weeks of the year, okay? You don't get the passes to spend however you want. I'd rather have those 5,200 passes than I would have 52 hops, because this hop apparently is opened straight away from what I can find out on the forums and that. And if the hop had stayed in my inventory, that would have been great. I could have saved it and used it for promos, but no, apparently it's going to open when you complete all 7. Apparently you do have to visit the page to open it. And hops have notoriously got quite bad. If you get some apples and carrots in it, you're doing well. I really don't know. I am not keen on this. I'd rather have the extra 100 passes, if I'm completely honest, after the 7 days, than that. So, not a fan of that. The other thing is, the flexibility thing is something I'm going to kind of pick up, because flexibility is important, I think, in terms of this game. Because this game does push a lot for you to be here all the time, and that's just not realistic for most people. And I feel like if this had been set, that say, for example, you missed a day, you could maybe do the previous day. Or maybe the day before that. Like with the Great Challenge, for example, with that promo where you can go back and still work on 2 days previous. Some kind of flexibility like that, you know, or the ability to just do all of the objectives in one day, and you could get the whole 900 passes on that day. You know, I feel like these things maybe need to be thought about, because I can't really see a way of people abusing this system right now, although people look for loopholes, and I'm sure somebody will find something. But I want to see some kind of flexibility, because it's not going to work for everybody, I don't think, in this regard. And yes, they want to reward the people who are here every day, and I'm not going to, like, complain about that. But pass horses give more flexibility in that regards. I know not everybody used all 3,000. Very rarely did I do that. There's only a handful of times I've done that. But if these objectives, you know, don't really meet with the players that have the ability to do them. Like, I don't have a problem, for example, feeding a Pegasus or feeding a unicorn because I've got those on my account. Whereas if somebody with under 30 days gets that, or maybe somebody in the first 100 and they don't have that thing, that's going to stop them getting it and stop them getting their hop at the end of it all. So I hope that the objectives match up to whatever is on your account overall. And end of the day, I'm not really a fan of this, and I can see it helping some people and I can see it being detrimental to others. But yeah, this is my thoughts on this right now. As I said, like, this might change depending on how they tweak certain things. This is just based on the information that I have right now. I've read so many forum posts, so many different opinions on this, and like, I'm not really a fan. I would be more a fan if it was more flexible, because I don't really want to sit here all day. I mean, I would be fine if these objectives are like little simple things. Like, these things didn't take me any time at all. But I think these things need to be tailored to the accounts that they're on. So somebody that has certain things like a unicorn, you know, feed a unicorn or feed a Pegasus, make sure that the player actually has those things. If there's, I'm sure they have ways to detect that. So I would like to see them make sure that the objectives aren't ridiculous ones, because I really don't want to see those kind of ridiculous objectives that we know we all hate when we see them in the promos. You know the ones we're talking about. But anyway, let me know what you think, whether you're on the server that has these changes or one that's not. I'm curious to know. So anyways, scrubs, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you had a lovely day, and bye guys!